Welcome to the deep dive. Ready to explore something incredible?
Let's do it.
Awesome. Today we're heading to China, to Datong.
Datong.
Have you heard of Datong?
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Datong is fascinating
Yeah.
because it's like this city that has transformed itself
Oh, yeah.
from being like a coal mining hub
Right.
to a center for culture and history.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
It is remarkable. So
Yeah.
we've got like a ton of sources
Oh, wow.
for this deep dive. We've got articles and firsthand accounts,
Sure.
historical data, and our mission is to really understand how this happened.
Yeah.
How did this city go through this transformation?
Right.
And also, like, what does it mean for the people who live there?
That's the great question.
What does it mean for the city? What does it mean for
Mhm.
its future? What does it mean for China?
I think it's a really fascinating case study, especially when you consider just how much history we're dealing with.
Right.
This isn't some new city that just popped up. We're talking 2,400 years of history.
Wow.
Datong has been a strategic location for centuries.
Wow.
Yeah, and it played key roles in, the Northern Wei dynasty,
Okay.
the Liao and Jin dynasties, the Ming dynasty.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah,
So many dynasties.
I know.
What was it about Datong? Like, why?
Yeah, why there?
Why did they keep coming back to this place?
I think geography has got to be the first thing you look at
Okay.
because Datong is situated on a plateau
Mm-hmm.
in northern China,
Okay.
and it's this natural gateway between the agricultural heartland
Right.
and then those nomadic steppes, that are beyond.
Oh, interesting.
So it becomes this really strategic location for
Right.
defense,
Yeah.
for trade, for cultural exchange.
So it's not just military.
Right, exactly.
It's like a crossroads of like
It's a crossroads, yeah.
so many different things.
Yeah.
And I think, there's this saying in one of the sources that I was looking at, and it said, "Soldiers and horses of Datong are the best under heaven."
Oh, yeah.
Best under heaven.
I love that quote.
I mean, that's quite a reputation.
That is, yeah.
It wasn't just like a military
Yeah.
outpost, right?
Yeah.
They were like the
And
best.
best.
But it sounds like it was also a cultural center.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the sources here,
Okay.
and I'm seeing these references to the Yungang Grottos,
Yes.
the Hanging Temple,
Mm-hmm.
and something called the Nine Dragon Wall.
Oh, yeah. The Nine Dragon Wall.
What are all these things?
Well, the Yunlin Grottos, for example, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Wow.
It has over 50,000 Buddhist sculptures
What?
carved into sandstone cliffs.
50,000?
It's incredible, isn't it?
That's insane.
It's a real testament to how strong Buddhism was in the region,
Wow.
especially during the Northern Wei dynasty.
Okay.
Then you've got the Hanging Temple,
Yeah.
which is just an amazing feat of engineering.
I was looking at a picture of that.
Isn't it amazing?
It looks like it's defying gravity.
It really does, yeah.
Yeah.
It clings to the side of a cliff face. Yeah. It's a blend of Buddhist, Taoist, and Confucian elements.
Oh, interesting.
It's something else.
It's like a true melting pot
It is, yeah.
of like all
Oh,
these
yeah.
different belief systems and
Mhm.
architectural styles.
Yeah.
And then the Nine Dragon Wall.
Oh, yes. The Nine Dragon Wall is the largest
Okay.
and the oldest of its kind in China.
Wow.
Yeah, it's this massive screen
Right?
that's decorated with 9 dragons,
Okay.
and it stands right in front of the main entrance
Right.
to the former imperial palace.
Gotcha.
And it served as this symbol of imperial power, but it also protected against evil spirits.
Those got this like
Yeah, dual purpose.
dual purpose.
Yeah.
So you've got this really long and rich history.
Right.
Right? But then if we jump forward a little bit
Okay.
to like the late 20th century,
Right.
I'm seeing in the sources that Datong is struggling.
Yeah.
Poverty,
Yeah.
pollution from the coal industry.
Right.
Things are not looking so good.
Not so good, yeah.
And this is where Gang Yanbo comes in.
Gang Yanbo.
The mayor,
Right.
who they called Demolition Gang.
Demolition Gang, yeah.
It seems like he had a pretty radical vision for transforming the city.
Yeah.
So what prompted this dramatic change?
Well, Gang Yanbo arrived in 2008,
Okay.
and he very quickly became known for, his bold approach to urban renewal.
Mm-hmm.
He just really saw Datong's reliance on coal
Right.
as not sustainable,
Yeah.
and he believed that the city's heritage
Mm.
could be the key to its future.
Right.
So he just starts all these ambitious projects.
Wow.
And I guess that's where the nickname Demolition Gang comes from.
Yeah.
Maybe a little too enthusiastic.
Okay.
But You can't argue that he shook things up.
Yeah.
He got things moving.
So he didn't just want to, like, preserve the past.
Right.
It sounds like he wanted to almost, like, recreate it
Oh, yeah.
in some ways. Like,
Yeah.
rebuilding the ancient city wall to its original height,
Right.
14 meters. That's crazy. Were these reconstructions accurate, though?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Because I keep seeing this term,
Right.
fake antiquities.
Fake antiquities. Yeah. What's up with that?
So Gang's approach, it was definitely more about reconstruction than like pure preservation.
Okay.
So he wasn't afraid to tear down structures that he considered beyond repair and then rebuild them based on historical records.
Oh, interesting.
And architectural plans.
So it's based on, like, what they think it used to look like.
Exactly.
But, of course, that sparked a lot of debate.
Of course.
Because you know how accurate can a replica be.
Right.
Yeah, some critics would say even with the best intentions,
Mm-hmm.
even with the best research, you can't replace the original.
Yeah. Right. And there's something about something being really old
Oh, yeah.
that you can't recreate with new bricks and mortar.
It's the feeling, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like this intangible
Goodbye.
feeling of history. Yeah, that's a good point.
But then on the flip side,
Right.
if a building is literally crumbling,
Yeah.
do you just let it decay?
Yeah. That's the question.
Or try to rebuild it?
Yeah.
It's a tough question.
It is. It is.
And then it gets even more complicated
Yeah.
when you think about, like, the human element.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Because these projects involved relocating residents.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, like, entire neighborhoods.
Oh.
They had to move
Yeah.
to make way for these new constructions.
Right.
So I imagine you have some people who are like, this is great. The city looks amazing.
Yeah.
It's cleaner. There's less pollution.
Yeah.
Um,
More jobs.
more jobs. And then you have other people who are like,
Yeah.
this is not my home anymore.
Right.
You know?
That sense of loss. Right.
Yeah, the sense of loss. Like,
Yeah.
where are my memories?
Yeah.
This isn't the place I grew up.
Yeah.
So it's a complicated picture.
Very complicated.
Right. We've got ancient grandeur.
Yes.
We've got economic hardship.
Mm-hmm.
We've got this controversial mayor
Right.
with a very grand vision.
A big vision. Yeah.
And this city that's going through this radical transformation.
Right.
It's like a whirlwind
It is.
of activity and change.
Yeah, absolutely.
From all the sources that you've looked at,
Mm-hmm.
what stands out to you as the most surprising or unexpected aspect
That's a good question.
of Datong's story?
I think the thing that sticks with me is that this story isn't just about bricks and mortar or even economics.
Okay.
This is a story about identity.
Wow.
It's about a city
Okay.
grappling with its past,
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out where it fits in the present,
Yeah.
and dealing with all the uncertainties of the future.
It's like the city itself
Yeah.
is going through an existential crisis.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
fine.
who am I?
Yeah.
Where am I going?
Right.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the city itself is going through this, like, identity crisis.
Totally.
Figuring out what it wants to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I imagine that crisis isn't just limited to, like,
oh, no.
the city's leaders.
Of course not.
Like the residents who actually lived through
Right.
this transformation.
Yeah.
They must have some strong opinions about it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Did any of their stories, like, stand out to you
Yeah.
in the research?
You know, you're right. It is crucial to understand how these changes impacted the everyday lives of people.
Yeah.
And there's this one account that really stayed with me from a woman who ran this small noodle shop
Okay.
in the old city
Mm-hmm.
for decades.
Wow.
And she talked about how her neighborhood
Yeah.
used to be so bustling with life.
Oh, wow.
Kids playing in the streets,
Right.
vendors selling their wares.
Yeah.
Families would gather for meals at her shop.
Oh, that's nice.
It was a real community.
Yeah.
But then her neighborhood was slated for redevelopment, and she had to relocate.
Oh, wow.
She got compensation, of course, and
Yep.
her new shop is in a much more modern building,
Right.
but she just misses that tight-knit community that she
Yeah.
had to leave behind.
That's heartbreaking.
It is, yeah.
But I guess also understandable.
Yeah.
Like, progress
Right.
often comes at a cost.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that cost is measured in
Yeah.
the loss of community,
Yeah.
the loss of tradition.
Yeah, for sure.
And I imagine you also have people who benefited
Absolutely.
from these changes.
Yeah. Right?
Right?
Yeah.
New jobs in tourism,
Mhm.
improved infrastructure,
Mhm.
cleaner environment.
Right.
So how do you weigh those competing interests?
It's a tough balancing act.
Yeah.
You can't just look at, the numbers, tourism revenue, and economic growth.
Right.
You have to factor in the human impact.
The human element.
Exactly. And that's where things get
Yeah.
complicated.
Yeah.
Take, for example, the restoration of the city wall. It's a magnificent structure. You can walk along it.
Yeah.
You get these breathtaking views.
Right.
But it also created this
Interesting.
barrier
Okay.
between the old and new parts of the city.
So it's almost like a physical manifestation of this divide.
It is, yeah. It's a very physical symbol of that divide.
Between those who benefit and those who maybe felt left behind.
Yeah.
The city is literally divided.
Yeah.
Not just by a wall, but by these different experiences.
Totally.
And as you said, it's not just about the past. It's about the future, too. Datong is now connected to Beijing by high-speed rail.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm imagining it's a lot easier for tourists to get there now.
Oh, yeah, way easier.
Yeah, what kind of impact do you think that's going to have?
Well, high-speed rail is a total game changer.
Okay.
I mean, it opens Datong up to so many new visitors, both domestic and international. And this could be great for the local economy. Create more jobs and opportunities. Yeah. But it also raises these concerns.
Oh, like what?
About over-tourism.
Over-tourism.
Yeah. Is Datong going to lose its unique character? And become just another stop on the tourist track?
Right, like a commodity.
Exactly.
So how do you prevent that? How do you strike that balance between attracting tourists, but also keeping what makes Datong special?
That's the question, isn't it? It's the million-dollar question. I think you need careful planning and a long-term vision.
Okay.
And one key element is to involve the local community in the decision-making process.
Yeah, it's their city.
It is their city.
At the end of the day.
Exactly. So they need to have a voice. Another crucial aspect is to focus on sustainable tourism.
Okay, sustainable tourism.
Yeah.
What does that look like in a place like Datong?
That's a good question.
Where so much of like the attraction is based on history and culture.
Right. Well, I think it's about going beyond the superficial.
Okay.
It's not just about, snapping a quick picture of an ancient building.
Yeah.
It's about really engaging with the local culture.
Right.
Learning about the stories, the traditions that make Datong unique.
So it's about like authentic experiences.
Exactly.
Not manufactured spectacles.
Yeah.
Right. And it's about making sure that tourism benefits everyone.
Absolutely.
Not just a select few.
It's got to be for the whole community.
It sounds like it's about sharing Datong's treasures with the world without exploiting them.
Yeah.
So there's this constant tension between progress and preservation.
Absolutely. And I think that tension is playing out in cities all over the world. It's a universal struggle.
Yeah. How do we modernize?
Yeah.
Without erasing the past? How do we embrace the future without losing our identity?
It's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Datong's story gives us this really powerful case study that I think we can all learn from.
So even though Datong is like on the other side of the world, its story resonates with us.
It does.
Because it reflects these universal questions about change, identity, the balance between the past and the future.
Very much so.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's like Datong's transformation has been like someone went and shook up a snow globe.
Oh, yeah.
Everything's kind of shifted around.
Yeah.
Some things are clear and others are still settling.
Right.
So as we reach the end of our deep dive here, is there a way to kind of sum up what this all means? If someone were to ask you, what's the one thing I should know about what happened in Datong?
Okay.
What would you say?
I think the biggest takeaway is that Datong's story shows us that progress, it isn't always a straight line.
Right.
It's not always clear.
Yeah.
It's messy. It's complicated.
Right.
And there are always trade-offs.
Yeah, you can't please everyone.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's no one perfect solution. To balancing economic development with preserving culture.
Right.
Or figuring out how to meet the needs of today.
Yeah.
While still respecting what happened in the past.
So it's not a simple success story. Yeah. It's not a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
It's somewhere...
It's more nuanced than that.
It's more nuanced, yeah. It's somewhere in between.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so interesting.
Yeah, I think Datong really pushes us to think critically about the choices we make as individuals, as communities.
As a planet.
Yeah, as a global society.
Yeah.
And it reminds us that what we do today impacts what happens tomorrow.
It has those ripple effects.
It does, yeah.
And thinking about those ripple effects.
Yeah.
One thing that I keep coming back to is that the changes that Gengyanvo started, they're still playing out today.
Oh, for sure.
Like, Datong is still in this transition.
Yeah, it's constantly evolving.
Yeah. What are some of the challenges that you think Datong is facing right now?
Well, one of the biggest challenges has got to be managing all the new tourists coming in on that high-speed rail.
Right, because it's so much easier to get there now.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
So how do they attract all these visitors, but still keep what makes Datong special?
Right.
And avoid all the problems that come with too much tourism.
Like losing that authenticity.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And another big question is, how do they make sure that the benefits from all this economic growth are shared with everybody?
Right. It's not just the select few.
Exactly.
What they saw.
Yeah. Will the people who were displaced, will they benefit?
Yeah. Will they be included in this new prosperity?
Yeah, that's the question.
It sounds like Datong is at this, like, crossroads.
It is, yeah.
And they've got some really big decisions to make.
Yeah, some tough choices.
About the future.
Definitely.
So if you could give the city's leaders some advice as they navigate these challenges, what would you say?
I would say, remember that a city, it's more than just buildings. It's more than infrastructure. It's about the people.
Yeah.
It's about the community.
Right.
It's about having this shared sense of belonging. So involve the community in those decisions.
Right.
Listen to what they have to say.
Yeah. Hear their concerns.
Yeah, hear their hopes, their dreams for the city.
Yeah.
And don't forget that progress shouldn't hurt people or destroy their culture.
Right.
That should never be the price of progress.
At the end of the day, the goal of, like, any urban transformation is to make life better for the people.
Exactly. Make it a better place to live.
Yeah. And that requires thinking about not just the economics, but also the social equity.
Absolutely.
Cultural preservation, environmental sustainability.
All of it, yeah.
All of it. It's like this big.
Yeah, it's holistic.
Holistic picture.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's time for us to wrap up
Okay.
our deep dive into the transformation of Datong.
It's been a journey.
It has been a journey.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
A lot.
From ancient history to the challenges that they're facing today.
Yeah, definitely.
And honestly, I'm just in awe of the resilience of this city and its people.
It's an inspiring story.
It is. It's inspiring, and it makes you think.
Yeah, it really does.
And for our listeners out there, we want to hear from you.
Yes?
What did you think?
Yeah, what stood out to you?
What questions do you still have?
Right. Join the conversation online.
Head to our social media.
And share your thoughts.
And until next time, keep diving deep.